Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Home and Finance Show. I'm Diana Rice-Wilkerson, lender with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and joining me is my wonderful co-host.
Hi, I'm Janis Bradley, broker owner of JB Real Estate Consultants.
We are your seasoned, trusted advisors committed to personally navigating you through the home buying and lending process. The show is designed to provide you with current and relevant information about different aspects of home buying, home selling, and lending so that you're knowledgeable when making decisions for you and your family. You can also hear us on Saturdays on Radio 1, 1310 AM, 92.7 and 95.1 FM at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That said, if you're in the market to buy, build, or refinance, we'd love to represent you. You may reach us at the contact information below. And now on with the show. Hello, Janis Bradley.
How are you doing today, Diana Rice-Wilkerson?
I am fantastic.
Good, the lady that shows you the money.
I am. That's my job.
That's your job.
That's my job description. You gave it to me.
I did, and it works too.
It does work. It does work. Well, we do know there's a lot going on in the industry with real estate today. And there's a new sheriff in town, I think you call it. And so you're going to be talking to us today about that new sheriff and what that means to sellers.
Absolutely. What I thought I would do is just kind of share a little bit, like Diana said. I called it a new sheriff in town, just simply because of the options that today's sellers, today's sellers, had. And it's really happened pretty much with vengeance, really all over the country. And that is, we're talking about cash offers today. So I think it's very important for sellers to kind of understand the options of possibly having a cash offer, and what does it mean to me? Right. Basically. So basically a cash offer just means it's a buyer, it could be an investor, it could be anyone that, or a company, because there are a lot of companies that make an offer on your home, but it's a cash offer. And the reason that these cash offers are so attractive to the sellers is really pretty simple. Why? Because that means that no buyer financing. So what does that mean? Well, financing sometimes can kind of fall through.
It sounds like you cut me out on the job.
I didn't mean to cut you out, but anything can happen and it can fall through. And let's say the seller is trying to buy another home and all of a sudden it's contingent on a buyer's financing. Well, that kind of goes, just goes away. It's in the weeds or what have you, as you say. So that a cash buyer can be very, very attractive to a seller. One of the things that let's just talk about, one of the things also is the fact that this cash buyer, buyer may not even think about having an appraisal, what does that mean? That means for the sellers that they don't have to deal with, especially in the kind of market that we've had in the last couple of years, suppose my house doesn't appraise, so then you're back, from Jump Street, we're at zero. What am I going to do? So that gives the seller obviously a peace of mind. You don't have to be concerned, and then a lot of times you don't even have to be concerned about have an inspection possibly, and that's really really biggie, for sellers any day. But in the past, when the market was really hot, it just meant, that's one more thing I don't have to worry about. Now, don't get me wrong, even though they're cash offers, everything still is terms, so you could still have another type of offer, but, maybe we're looking at, what are terms. What I thought I'd share with you is that even on the purchase agreement, this is very, very important, because it's going to give you the different options, that a seller is having. Is it going to be a cash offer? Because it's talking about method of payment, cash offer, mortgages, so on and so forth. So on this cash offer, the way it says the entire purchase price shall be paid in cash, U.S. dollars, and no financing is required. I'm just telling you what it says.
I just want to know, are people showing up with a truckload of cash, or is this still a wire, or talk to me?
Well, one of the things is they're required to provide proof of funds.
Okay.
All right. So if it's the truck, or and it's going to be submitted either with the offer, they say, or within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Now, what I do, when I'm representing the seller, I ask them for that proof of funds.
Within what time frame?
I ask for it right away.
Okay.
And sometimes we just might have to ask for an extension of time, till that we respond. Because if you're paying cash, then, I know there's a term, but I don't want to mess it up. But show me the money in this case, actually. Let's just do it that way. So I just want you to understand even what it says on the purchase agreement, proof of funds. Because you can have somebody all day long, and we have had situations after situations where somebody is stringing you along. I have the money, but it comes for this investor, so on and so forth. But anyway,
Janis, just to back up though,
sure.
Give us an example of what is proof of funds. What would proof of funds?
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Usually, what it will be, it would come from a bank.
Okay.
Or wherever their funds are coming from. And of course, they cross out the account number, that type of thing. But it is showing as document that they do have, and actually they show how much money that they have.
In the bank account.
In the bank account.
Got you.
Especially if, they're showing that they can cover that particular cash offer.
Okay.
Very, very, very good question. So that's very, very, very important. So I know the number one question is going to be, well, I bet you these cash offers, they always lowball you. And sometimes that could be the case. It's a very, very good question, but that's not always the case. And it certainly wasn't always the case in 2021 and 22 and 20, really, because I'm going to give you some information that shows you how for each year the number of cash offers, got higher and higher. So again, that's not always the case, that the offer is pretty low, because again, when you were really looking at, what does this mean for me? It means that you're able to go on with your life, whatever your situation is, your next chapter in life. So let's just talk about who writes all these cash offers. Well, everybody knows around the country that there has been a lot of investors. That's just the way it is. And in a lot of situations, it maybe has kind of come down a little bit. But what I'd like you to kind of think about is some of the ones that I know of personally that actually are really pretty good to work with. They're more reputable, and they kind of work with you a little bit better. So they might take an additional let's say they say the house is, we'll give you $250. Well, they might. That's what we're saying that we're offering you. But in most cases, what they'll do is give you a discount, saying, okay, but 7% of that, so this is really a real offer. And that's why you always want, I'm just going to put a pin in it here, why you always want to make sure you are working with a realtor no matter what, because it's not necessarily little ink. As I say, but really understanding the numbers that you are working with.
So what's the 7%? So if I'm going to give you $250, what's the 7%?
It's just a fee that they charge.
That comes back to them. So net, you're not getting $250. It's $250 minus 7%.
Exactly.
Okay.
It could be 4 to 7%.
Okay, gotcha.
So some may be a little bit more flexible. Some of these companies may also say, I will have an inspection. Now, why is that? Most reputable companies that I have worked with, the reason that they have an inspection is that they're not necessarily putting the house back on the market to rent.
Okay.
These companies actually have been flipping them.
Okay.
Making whatever improvements that they need. Sometimes it's not even that much, but the point of it is that they do want an inspection. Now, again, I'm not saying that all the companies are like that. And one of the reasons they do that is that if they are, quote unquote, putting the house back on the market, then they've got to make sure that the investment, whatever they have to put into the market, maybe it's carpet, it could be appliances or something of this nature. Yeah. So then if they say, okay, because everything's a number game, we we know that. So they might say, oh, well, look, we're going to have to put $4,000 or $5,000. So that, again, can be reduced for the bottom line. But again, each case is different, and you have to see what's going to work best for you. On
those offers where the seller comes back because they have had an inspection and they feel that they want to reduce the price, because did their offer indicate it was subject to an inspection?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not subject to an inspection, the inspection is not
That's
it's
null and
not
void.
relevant.
Yeah,
Got it.
it
They
is.
may have one, but it doesn't have anything to do with, okay.
And actually, I have actually seen in some situations where the repairs were just more than they wanted to work with, you know, and that you can't tell it until they walk in. And I mean, they do a thorough inspection. But, you know, again, I'm just kind of sharing with you, it's not all lily, you know, just say, okay, lilies, you know, and the flowers and all of that. You know, there are some things that goes into this. But again, it can be a very, very, you know, a good situation and a decision for you. And I think I talked about the repairs. And like I said, what I really do like about these particular companies, that they do not put it back on the market for rent. You know, and I like the fact that they are still helping the home ownership. So sellers, you know, I was talking about this over and over again. No matter what type of offers you are working with, you really need to make sure that you are working with a realtor to review the purchase agreement. There are a lot of investors that also want to write their own purchase agreement. You don't want that. That can get pretty tricky. And we know the bottom line, yes, your bottom line really counts, but are you really getting the best price, okay? Are you really getting the best price? Sometimes the fact that that seller is taking a lower price, you got to just look at the big picture, because again, number one, I talked about the appraisal. That might not work for you, and just some other types of things, maybe terms. Now, there's some terms. The reason some terms could be different for you, because some companies they want to close in 2 weeks, maybe less, but maybe they want possession in a week.
Okay.
So is that going to work for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller?
So it's every piece. You've got to look not only at the cash offer and the amount, those terms, each one of them you have to see, how is that really going to impact your life?
Exactly, because in some cases, if you cannot give them possession, like let's say in that 7 days, then you will be charged, okay? But again, remember I'm saying you got to look at the big picture, what we're talking about price-wise and things of that nature. I have worked with a few sellers who were working with the investor and wanted me to take a look because they were trying to buy another home, okay? And so they wanted to make sure, okay, how is this going to work for me? I had a situation where this particular seller, and she wanted to do everything herself. So she did get an offer on her property, but she wanted me to take a look at it, and the offer was unbelievable. Just a bad offer.
Not in her favor.
Not really in her favor, but because that there was a house that she was interested in, and I wasn't necessarily involved in this situation, so she had already talked to the listing agent and all of that. But so she actually was taking a lower offer in order to buy this other house. Well, it came back to bite her simply because, number one, the way they worked the purchase agreement, they said it was cash. I found on the purchase agreement for a method of payment, it was a conventional offer. So that meant you still had to have financing. So, you know, what does that mean to you?
Have a professional represent you.
So yeah, let's just kind of talk about that. Now, what ended up also happening in this situation is that, like I said, she was willing to take a lower offer. I mean, she really could have put it on the market and just waited a little bit, but guess what?
What?
She thought she was ready to write an offer on this particular home because we had to clean up the purchase agreement. And the next home, the home was sold. Why was it sold? Because first of all, nobody was taking contingencies.
Right.
You know, and a lot of sellers that want to do all this by themselves. In those days, the last couple of years, we say those days like it was way back, but on those days, there's no need to take a contingency if you haven't sold your home. Now, maybe they might consider if you actually had a purchase agreement on your home.
Right.
You know, maybe
headed
that can
to the closing table.
Yeah, and headed to the perfect, you know, so. Anyway, so I just kind of want to, share with you that is why you really still need a purchase agreement, a realtor involved. I've had some clients that wanted me to take a look in another, like I think it was Gary, Indiana, and they were asking because their mother wanted just to get out of the house, you know. So they had an investor that was writing cash. By the time I looked at that offer, and what they had said, well, my mom said that she wanted to sell it for $50, and she just didn't want to bring any money to closing. Well, not just that, she wanted to make something. By the time I looked at that purchase agreement, they had the mother paying $3,500 for closing costs, and then another something X amount, like $3,500 to pay to this particular company, you know, and all of that. By the time I said, have you added up all the fees?
Right.
The mother was in the red.
Yeah.
But nobody knew how to, you know, navigate. Right. You know, navigate to see what was going to be best for the seller, you know, and especially for her mom. I mean, the way the purchase agreement read, she was really going to be taken care of. So let's just talk about that. We've got to all take care of each other, you know, and especially when you're dealing with the older community, everybody knows that. I mean, I don't know how many days a week in the mail I get somebody wanting to buy my house, and so does you, and so does everybody in America. Right. But, you know, some of the older people, senior citizens, and I mean really senior citizens, they don't understand this, you know, and they're really thinking, okay, this is a good way. Don't please take care of each other. You know, just if your parents are thinking they want to, they got a letter, look at the letter and just say, no, Mom, you know, we'll get a realtor for you when you're ready. And I'm not saying that an investor may not work, but make sure you get somebody involved that knows how to read that purchase agreement and what's going to actually be best for you. I love that counsel because, matter of fact, you have a house listed right now on Hovey, and I think it's listed for $125. And I was looking at that listing and a few other listings today, and I was just thinking about people, especially in that community, because I was even thinking about the home where we grew up. A lot of owners don't realize what values their homes are. They don't. And so these are the most zeros and commas they've ever seen. And I know that from my conversation with my mom. And it's like, nobody's going to give me that much money for this house. So we don't know. And we tend to, because we don't know, we can get excited if someone shows up with a check. And yet we could actually be selling that house for a whole lot less. And then, of course, knocking on your door. Yes. And maybe they've made an appointment with you, but don't let anybody in your house. Don't let anybody in your house. You know, don't let anybody. And, you know, because you can't trust them. The other thing is, that I just wanted to mention was, you're right, Janice, you can't trust them. I think the other thing is your professional is going to show you, they're going to actually show you comps, right? I mean, you don't pull numbers out of your head. Right, absolutely. Show you comps, show you how much you're going to make. This costs them nothing to get this type of evaluation. Exactly. And this is an added protection. Plus, you've got license on the line. You've got your reputation on the line. So, yeah, it's just really important to work with a professional. You know, and I'm not saying sellers don't do a cash offer by any means. No, because I just want everybody to know that is definitely an option for you, and it could be a very, very, very good option for you. But cash in and of itself is not necessarily king, because those terms could derail it. Terms with all capital letters. Yeah, all definitely. You know, so, you know, again, now, what I thought I'd do, I just kind of was curious in what's happening in the last 3 years. Actually, I went back to 2020. Okay, so I was just wanted to kind of share the statistics showing the impact of cash sales, and I just did Marion County. So you kind of have to work with me here so you can see, and I know you can. So in 2020, the number of cash sales was around 2,800, okay? Now, the remainder of the sales, that means not cash, they were financing of some type, was almost about 11,700, okay? Now, that was in 2020. We had 28, and I know you're probably going to see the percentage. Okay, so listen to this. In 2021, cash sales, Diana, was around 4,000. So we're talking about from 2021, I want to make sure I said that. 2020, cash was 28. In 2021, cash sales was around $4,000, and the number of other sales was around almost 11,000. But you can see the difference. You can see the difference.
Yeah, it's almost a third.
Yes, absolutely.
A third of the sales was cash.
Now, in 2022, it's a little different. In 2022, cash sales were approximately 3,400, and the regular sales was 98.
Okay.
Now, of course, you know, we started taking a turn, you know, so you can see the effect there. But again, we're talking 3,400, 9,800. Like I said, the sales came down, and of course, we know the market started kind of changing in rates. What I thought we would actually kind of talk about a little bit is what was happening in the market in the last year. Rates started going up, it seems, from what the reports say, around March of 22. And the rates were actually raised 7 times in 22. You know? Yeah. And but we still ended up with a pretty good year.
Yes.
When you think about that, if, you know, in 2022, if we were 9,800, even though 21 was almost 11,000.
Right.
So we still had I would say a pretty good. Just some kind of statistics, again, stats on Indiana, period. And Indiana, it says Indiana has the highest job growth in the Midwest.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And we know in home buying, there's going to really kind of be 3 factors really in purchasing. There's going to be rates and what the sales of the price, and then of course wages. But I put that in only because of the fact that they're talking about the highest job growth. It still shows that we here in Indianapolis, Fishers, wherever, we've got some money to work with. Right. Okay, for home ownership. Boy. In the last 2 to 3 years, real estate values have increased around 18%. And we saw
That's
it.
a lot.
That is a lot. It was also talking that Indianapolis has been one of the hottest real estate markets in the country for years. We always knew that we were kind of like the most affordable. Correct. I've seen 4 or 5, 6 or what have you. But Realtor.com has ranked us, has said that we are the 4th best housing market position for growth in 2022. So just thought you kind of like to know exactly kind of what's going on in the city, you know, of Indianapolis, because I just thought that was kind of really, you know, some information to, you know, just to kind of share.
Well, and a lot of that just general observations is the fact that we have been affordable. Yes. Has meant several things. Number one, for people who live in Indiana, they could still buy homes and at an affordable price. For investors, a lot who lived outside of Indiana could still buy in Indiana. Yes. And they still are. And people even outside the country are buying real estate in the United States. Because I heard one statistic was basically a lot of our real estate is owned by non-citizens. And so as long as you have affordable pricing, they can do it. They can do it. The concern is at some point we might become unaffordable, which is why we encourage people buy now, because even though you might be saying I'm waiting for those prices to drop again, guys, I just don't think that's going to happen. I do know we've seen some improvement with price, but not what happened when the market crashed. You know,
no, not in 7 and 8. No, not anything like that.
Yeah,
thank you, thank the Lord.
Yep. Excellent information, Janis.
And when you said that about the investors, we know for a fact that has caused even some of the homeowners association to make some changes for the neighborhoods. That's right. And that is a wonderful thing. Yeah, I live in an area where we have a homeowners association, and we voted. You know, there only could be X amount, and you have to do that to protect. You know, to protect. So, you know, I think Fishers started it right away.
I'm sure they did.
Well, the heaviest, let's put it that way. I don't know. They might have came out with some big guns because in Noblesville. We did hear about, hear about that. But I used to always kind of say, is we should have control over that by our homeowners association. When we had Kirkpatrick on, they're not the ones that can actually state that or put that, because obviously it's the board of directors and everybody. But we started seeing that some changes, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that occurred with the investors renting.
Yes.
The market rent just escalated, and it was kind of like just kind of abuse, because homes were being purchased and then rent was being escalated, and and made really unaffordable, and that really created a big problem, along with transforming communities from home ownership to
a lot of rentals. A lot of rentals.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons too, I have to honestly say that even when we were talking about these cash offers, that some of these investors, I really appreciated the fact that they did make whatever improvements, even if it was just new carpet, or and painted they painted the cabinets white, or gray, because that's a new color. But anyway, they still put the house back on the market, for sale, and I really respected that and appreciated that. But we're in from what I've been looking at and what's being said, doesn't seem to be gloom and doom. I mean, everybody, we feel like it is, but we've been through it.
We're making adjustments.
You just make adjustments.
Yes.
There's no ifs and buts about it, and we know we got to start somewhere. But again. Yeah, we talked about cash offers, but earlier what we talked about down payment assistance, so Diana had a whole program on it, and she was talking about down payment. So there still is a way.
Oh, yeah.
There still is a way.
Yes.
In all different kind of incomes also.
What do you think, though, for cash offers in 2023? I mean, you have any thoughts about where you think, because I was just doing doing the math, it still looked like in 2022 it was 34% of the overall pie. So it's still a strong.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's still going to be some cash offers for these larger companies. Yeah. Because I see too, they've gone national.
Okay.
They have definitely gone national, but I think there's still going to be some of that, and I think sellers really need to take advantage of it. But depending on the terms, there's no doubt about it. So, and again, they may ask, you can say, well, subject to, are you going to put this house, I don't want to rent. I don't want this house to be a rental.
Right.
You've got control. And if they can show we put the house back on the market, so it's going to give you some options so you can make the best decision that you possibly can.
But the first step for sellers still today, and it's best practice, you don't have to, but best practice is to definitely hire a real estate professional.
Absolutely, because what we can do is, like you said, you're going to do the comps.
Yes.
Now we've seen situations before where they're not going to do the comps. Now I've helped my sellers do the comps and take it to them.
Right.
And then they have worked out, it made it a win-win situation.
Right.
A professional, you need a real estate professional. You need somebody that's going to represent you. We are so glad and so happy that you've allowed us to come into your living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, wherever you are, and we just really appreciate you. So you have a great, great day.
Janis, thank you so much for the information on cash offers. And viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. You've been listening to the Home and Finance Show. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.